Hello everyone, it's Glitter Informer, and welcome to the Unrequited Crush episode of Meitantei Pretty Cure! I figured that now that our cast of Pretty Cures consists of 3 characters, it would be fit to celebrate with my 3rd Live2D model. This model here is Mashiro Nijigaoka from Hirogaru Sky Pretty Cure. Even though I quit reviewing it less than halfway through its run, I still watched it on my own, and I have a lot of good memories of it. I don't remember why I chose Mashiro in particular, but this outfit is cute, so Past Me made a good choice, I think. In today's magical adventure, Anna and Mikuru set out to find more information about Cure Arcana Shadow. Their first thought is to shoot an email or phone call to one of the other branches of the Kyoto Detective Agency, which exist all around the world, by the way. One of them might know a little about this Arcana Shadow fella. But this whole story arc would be over immediately if the agency just told them all the info right then and there, so for no real explained reason, the Kyoto Detective Agency sends all of its important info via snail mail. It's going to be a long time until the girls get any updates on Arcana Shadow, so they decide to search for her themselves. Mikuru puts her art skills to the test yet again, and makes a sketch of Luluka. But even though they show the drawing to tons of people all across town, not a single person remembers seeing anybody like the person Mikuru drew. My first thought was that this was hard to believe. You're telling me that Luluka has not been around a single person in this town other than Anna, Mikuru, and the other Phantom Thieves? But then I remembered that this is Mikuru's drawing we're talking about here, and then I understood. During their long and uneventful search, Anna and Mikuru turn up at this CD shop. And what do you know? By sheer coincidence, Goemon and Luluka are there too. However, Goemon is hidden away, and Luluka has used the pre-kit gloss to disguise herself yet again. This time, Luluka is posing as a shop employee. And my gosh, are we just going to completely forget that Luluka has the canon ability to change her hair color? There is nobody else in this entire show who has dull blonde hair and bright purple eyes. Anna and Mikuru should instantly recognize her, but nope. They don't have a clue that this clerk lady is anyone suspicious at all. Normally I'd chalk up these Clark Kent type disguises as just a convention of the genre, but these two have been shown to be incredibly observant most of the time. That makes it all the more egregious when the show makes them uncharacteristically dumb for the sake of plot convenience. As you might imagine, Goemon and Luluka have come to the CD shop to steal an item containing a Makoto jewel. Now here's something I've noticed about Goemon. Episodes focusing on him are different than episodes focusing on any of the other villains. Whenever Niji, Agesen, or now Cure Arcana Shadow get involved, the episode always follows the same formula of the villain disguising themselves in order to steal an item. Usually the heroes will have to figure out which group of suspects is the sussy Baka imposter. But every single Goemon episode has bucked this trend, and every single one has presented a really clever and unique mystery for the girls to solve. Episode 4 had a lost item instead of a stolen item. Episode 7 had the girls trying to escape a labyrinth. Episode 10 had the girls trying to figure out the meaning and motivation behind a painting's creation. So what is episode 12's unique twist on the mystery solving format? It has to do with the type of item Goemon is after. This episode's important item is a wish bracelet. I had never heard of wish bracelets in my life until watching this episode, but apparently they were trendy in Japan in the late 90s or something. Basically, you make a wish on the bracelet, then the bracelet gradually gets looser and less secure, and when it falls off your wrist, supposedly your wish gets granted. So here's the issue. The wish bracelet only has any sentimental value while it is still tied around its owner's wrist, because it still hasn't granted its supposed wish yet. If Goemon steals it from its owner, it will lose all of its value, and the Makoto jewel will disappear. You can see now that Goemon is kind of in a pickle. He's too much of a himbo to figure out how to break out of this dilemma, so he calls on Luluka for help because 1, he always lets her tag along on his missions, and 2, he knows she's wickedly smart. So my first thought here would be to kidnap the person wearing the wish bracelet and lug her off to Uso Noir. That way, the Phantom Thieves Guild would obtain the bracelet, and they'd have a bonus person on the side. However, Luluka's plan is entirely different. That's probably for the best, because if the Phantom Thieves escalated from robbery to kidnapping, they'd probably have way more heat on their trails. Instead, Luluka's goal is to persuade the bracelet's owner to cherish the bracelet even after it falls off. So who exactly is the person wearing the bracelet? Well, she's this lady who's got a crush. The sexy, tall, hot guy she's crushing on regularly goes to this store to listen to music and study and stuff, so she goes to the store too just to gaze upon him from afar. Alas, our woebegone romantic heroine cannot muster the courage to confess to this handsome dude. Bracelet Lady doesn't exactly spell all this out at first. However, it's not hard to put two and two together, because while she's showing her wish bracelet to Ana and Mikuru, the man of the hour himself comes in. His very first line of dialogue in the entire show is about going to the bathroom, but somehow the lady still blushes tomato red because she's so attracted to him even when he's talking about needing to go. For some reason, the observant and intelligent star detective Ana Akechi is unable to realize that the bracelet lady has a crush on the customer dude. Mikuru has to spell it out for her. There's this cute moment where she loudly and proudly proclaims that the bracelet lady has fallen in love with the guy, which embarrasses and flusters the poor bracelet lady even further. It's kind of dumb that the show makes Ana uncharacteristically unintelligent, but it's worth it to see Mikuru explaining things smugly and enthusiastically. I love our silly little pink cure. Anyways, the wish bracelet falls off at long last. Thus, the bracelet lady finally gains the courage to approach and talk to the guy. But right as she starts talking to him, the guy's girlfriend comes a-running on up. It is, in fact, the Unrequited crush episode of Meitantei Pretty Cure. Having been banished to the cuck chair, the heartbroken bracelet lady is about to throw away her bracelet since it obviously didn't do its job of making her wish come true. But the disguised Luluka swoops in and gives the bracelet lady a speech about how her feelings of love were important, and the bracelet watched over her while she was going through those feelings. She implores the lady to never forget those feelings and to hold on to the bracelet so that she can remember them. I'm not sure why, but the speech totally convinces the lady to hold on to the now broken bracelet as a keepsake. I know I wouldn't have wanted to keep the thing. Why would I want to remember and cherish the feelings of wanting a guy who was already taken? And besides, the wish bracelet wasn't meant to symbolize feelings or anything like that. It's a wish bracelet. It completely failed at the one thing it was built to do. But whatever, the plan works for some reason. I think this probably isn't bad writing, I'm just too autistic to understand how normal people like the bracelet lady think. I will say this, Luluka's physical appearance might be hardly any different from her true self, but she acts way different. It's surreal seeing the normally stoic and quiet Luluka being friendly and constantly smiling. Sure, she did some smiling during the fight in last episode, but customer service Luluka is something else entirely. With her job done, Luluka skedaddles on out, and Ana and Mikuru do some more asking around the store to find Cure Arcana Shadow. Once again, they turn up with nothing. Before they leave the store, Ana wants to say goodbye to the friendly clerk lady they met, only for one of the other employees at the store to tell them that all the store's employees are male. Ana and Mikuru's reactions to this are honestly pretty funny. They just stand there and smile normally for a bit, and then they're like, "What?" Even though Ana and Mikuru's intellects have been nerfed somewhat by the plot, they still have enough brain cells left that they remember their pre-kit mirror loops exist. They use them to chase after the clerk's footprints, and they're able to catch up to her and confront her. Luluka undoes her disguise and is like, "Well, you've got me." And then she transforms into Cure Arcana Shadow, and the other two girls transform, and they fight. Okay, so here's a problem I have had with this show that got significantly worse starting last episode. The transformations are just too dang long. Cure answered Cure Mystique's transformation sequence, combined with the once an episode allowing me to show you my answer, lasts 1 minute and 51 seconds, which is longer than most of the fight scenes in this show. But now we have a second transformation sequence, Cure Arcana Shadows, which lasts exactly 1 minute. It's understandable that it lasts half the time of the other sequence, since it contains half the number of people. But still, That's almost 3 minutes of just transformation sequences. Add in the ridiculously over-padded flying spectrum, which lasts an additional 1 minute and 17 seconds, and we now have over 4 minutes of stock footage in a 24-minute episode. Typically, what a season of Pretty Cure will do in order to alleviate this problem is either show an abridged version of each transformation sequence, or show a montage/collage thingy that combines all the transformations together into one sequence. I really hope that eventually Meitantei Pretty Cure does this as well, otherwise things are gonna get really bad once Cure Claire shows up. And God forbid there's a 5th Cure in that case. Otherwise, we'll have an entire quarter of each episode eaten up by stock footage. Well, we're just gonna have to deal with it. The other 2 Pretty Cures fared just about as well against Cure Arcana Shadow as they did last episode. Meanwhile, Jet Senpai sees Mashitan for the first time. Jet Senpai has been accompanying Anna and Mikuru this whole time, by the way, but since he didn't appear at all during the entire CD shop scene, it's hard to remember he was even there at all. Anyways, just like he instantly recognized Pochitan as a space-time fairy in episode 2, he immediately cards Mashitan as a fortune-telling fairy here. This further supports my hypothesis that all fairies of the same type look the same. All space-time fairies are bears, all fortune-telling fairies are foxes, etc. Her Arcana Shadow does her Arcana Star Rain on the other cures. This time she doesn't miss, and they collapse to the ground. Despite this, Jet Senpai is just as brave as he was in episode 2. He runs right up to Cure Arcana Shadow and is like, "Wait a minute, you're the one who saved Pochitan's life at the beach that one time. This guy is way more observant than I am. He doesn't need the Pretty Cure wiki to realize that Arcana Star Rain is the exact same attack that was used to save Pochitan in episode 6. It's easy to forget because we never see him actively solving mysteries like Anna and Mikuru do, but he is in fact a member of the Kyoto Detective Agency. But as it turns out, Cure Arcana Shadow didn't have a soft spot for the baby fairy. She was just interested in seeing the extent of Pochitan's powers, such as her ability to sense when Makoto jewels are being stolen, and her ability to return Makoto jewels to where they belong. Okay, this last one's a pretty big revelation. In episode 2, I mistakenly said that every time Pochitan gets a Makoto jewel, she turns it into milk and drinks it to gain back her power. But we were never shown Pochitan drinking milk except for one scene in episode 2, when the girls first give Pochitan a Makoto jewel, and in episode 6 where no Makoto jewel was involved at all. I assumed she'd just drink the milk off screen, but it seems like the Makoto jewels and the milk were unrelated this whole time. Pochitan just makes them disappear to, somewhere, I guess. Her answer and Cure Mystique certainly have no idea where they go when Pochitan's done with them. Her Arcana Shadow does seem to know. But obviously she doesn't want to help them, so she's just like, wow, they really didn't teach you anything, did they? I gotta say, between the snail mail and the overall lack of communication, the Kyoto Detective Agency does not seem like a very professional organization. Then Goemon enters the scene, having stolen the wish bracelet, and he turns it into a Haninda. Naturally, Answer and Mystique are like, "What the hell is wrong with you, Cure Arcana Shadow? Why, on God's green earth, are you doing something so wretched?" And Arcana Shadow's like, "What are you talking about? I'm not doing anything immoral. I taught her the value of the bracelet, so that means I did a good thing." Of course, that doesn't address the fact that once she persuaded the bracelet lady to love the bracelet, her coworker ripped it away from her, so Answer and Mystique are not convinced. Then Cure Arcana Shadow dares Cure Answer and Cure Mystique to stop her, and they do, immediately. Even though the fight among the 3 cures was good and all, as soon as the Haninda gets involved, the fight becomes super rushed. I think the Haninda gets in like 3 projectiles, and the cures don't even beat it up to wear the monster down. They just jump straight to Flying Spectrum and finish the monster off. Maybe if we hadn't spent 3 whole minutes on transformations, there would have been time to actually see them fight the giant monster. But oh well, you take what you can get, I guess. Well, the heroes got the Makoto Jewel, so it's not like the villains can bring anything home to Usonoir anymore. But still, Cure Arcana Shadow remains way stronger than the other 2 cures. There's nothing stopping her from staying behind to fight them some more, incapacitating them and preventing them from stopping any more Makoto Jewel heists. But instead, after going on and on and on about how Answer and Mystique can't protect anything because they're weak, and about how they can't stop the Phantom Thieves, Arcana Shadow apparently thinks that now they're just too much of a threat because she turns tail and leaves. But before she does, she gives one last "we're not so different, you and I" speech to the main characters. She tells them that just like she brought value to the wish bracelet that would have gone unused, the heroes brought value to the detective agency, which was going unused. How does Arcana Shadow know this about the detective agency? She used to run the place. Well, that about settles it. My original hypothesis, that Cure Arcana Shadow was the mysterious Pretty Cure who used to work at the detective agency, is confirmed. However, I was originally under the impression that Jet Senpai worked together with her, and that he was the one who made her the pre-kit gloss. Now, it seems like Jet Senpai arrived and took over the abandoned building after Arcana Shadow had already left. Which begs the question, who did make her pre-kit gloss? I guess we'll find out later. For now, the girls return the bracelet to its owner and head on home. All is well, at least for a little while. For you see, Uso Noir has had it up to here, with his employees failing over and over. So he has a Thanos style, fine, I'll do it myself, see. Remember how in episode 7 there were rumors that some evil bad guys were gonna try and take over the world in July 1999? That time is close at hand, my friends. In fact, it will arrive in the very next episode, and our two heroines will have to face off against the entire Phantom Thieves Guild at once, including their supreme leader. Okay, wow. Just like in episode 5, we are ratcheting up the stakes way higher than what's typical for a Pretty Cure season this early on. Normally, you'd have to wait until the final battle of the show for the bad guy's head honcho to face the Cures head on, or for all the villains to unite together. Yet in Meitantei Pretty Cure, this is occurring just a quarter of the way into the show. I'm super stoked for what happens next, of course. But I'm also worried because, one, what if they make the villains too strong and end up making them stupid out of nowhere so the Cures can win, just like they did with Miji in episode 6? And two, how much higher can the stakes really get? If the villains send every person and resource they have after the heroes and they beat them, there won't be any stakes anymore because we know there's nothing more they can possibly do to try and beat them. That is, unless the Phantom Thieves suddenly gain some new recruits or powers a quarter of the way through the show. But honestly, the cast of villains we already have is a good enough size. I can't imagine the writer successfully juggling even more characters. Well, we'll just have to wait until next week to see if the show can pull off the quarter season climax. In the meantime, even though this episode did have way too much stock footage, and even though Luluka's paper-thin disguise was dumb, I still really liked it overall. The unique concept of trying to steal an item without getting rid of all its value in the process was really intriguing, and I love finding out more tiddlywinks of information about Cure Arcana Shadow and her connection to the show's overall lore. So I'm happy. I'll see you all for the next episode, and maybe together we will be happy once more. Bye bye!